Well, good afternoon, Malt Shoppers. Good afternoon. We got ourselves a full house, and we know why that is. Don't make me flash the lights now. Come on. Don't make me flash the lights. We're going to put two of your absolute favorites over here on this side. Two mega stars, not only from the cruise, but from the era. Two of the biggest names. You know these two. You love these two. And the only way to really pull it out of them, the only way to really get the stories, the good stories, the stories from back in the days, to take someone that was actually there with them. You know him. You love him. He's the Geeter. Give it up for Mr. Jerry Blavitt.
Wait, how about a big hand for my man Jason, the Music Mason? Well, here we are. Are you having fun? Now, the people who were here for the first time, where are you? Are you going to come back? I know you'll be back. And don't forget to get the book. You only rock once. Anyway, what can I tell you about these two people that I'm going to introduce you to? I've been doing this for 63 years on radio, but on television, I did it for 68 years because I was a little kid like Mickey Rooney. Remember Mickey? He started at 6. I started at 13. I've met many wonderful, talented people with wonderful stories about how they began. You're going to experience two mega stars, and the great thing is that they're from California. We talk about the East Coast, but California was the star. First, I want to bring out the guy taller than me. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Medley, the Righteous Brother. My man. That's you.
Am I here?
Yeah, I got you here. And now the young lady, and this is something you really didn't know, but they have something in common, going way back, and we'll tell you what they had in common. What's that? Do you hear that? Well, now, don't get ahead of the stories now. Don't get ahead of the stories. Ladies and gentlemen, rhythm and blues, rock and roll, gospel. She's got the pipes. She does it all. Darlene Love.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel like David Susskind. Well, what can we say?
You guys know what that is? You're over 50?
They're still trying to figure out who Soupy Sales was. Remember Soupy Sales?
Absolutely.
But, you know, the great thing about what we do here is we bring people together, like all of the great stars. We are a family, and you are a family. And that's why these Malt Shop Memories Cruise are so important, because we keep the music alive, and you learn about these wonderful artists. Now, Darlene came from a world of gospel as a little girl, right? Okay, there's your microphone. So they can
Yes.
Still a little girl.
This man came from a world of rhythm and blues with people like Robert and Johnny, Shirley and Lee, Jesse and Marvin, going way back with, well, we can talk about some of those days. But how did you two guys from your world and your world get together on a show called Shindig?
Well, the Righteous Brothers, Bobby and I just fell into it. Darlene and the Blossoms were, it was probably very special that the Shindig got them, because they were the background group in the world. And did you have hits on I Want to Wait Till My Bobby Gets On, which always pissed me off, by the way, that you were singing about Bobby.
Bobby Hatfield.
Excuse my language.
But wait, you did the first pilot for Shindig as the Blossoms.
Yes, the Blossoms actually were working for Jackie D. Shannon. We were doing background for her.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And Bob and the producer came from Europe,
Jack Good.
Jack Good, to Jackie's show. And he met us, and he said, I'm getting ready to do a television show, a rock and roll international record show, and I would like for you girls to be on it.
Right.
Well,
You
it was
know,
in black and white, and we were black. There was a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's also a wonderful documentary before Shindig where you were doing backup for so many great artists, right?
Yes.
What was the name of that documentary?
20 Feet from Stardom.
Did you see that? It's an amazing documentary. Who were some of the artists that you were doing backup for back then?
Well, we met all the artists that could even sing. I think we worked with great people that can sing. Matter of fact, we were really surprised when the Righteous Brothers became on Shindig as regulars. And then I remember you telling the story about you guys were pissed, excuse me, because you guys wanted to go out and work your record and you were stuck on Shindig every weekend.
Well, we were. Well, you were regulars, and we were considered regulars, and then between Shindig, Shindig was like doing Ed Sullivan every week. I mean, Shindig was huge, and we had just recorded "You've Lost That Love and Feeling," so between Shindig and that record, I bought a new suit.
Well, you know, guys, you didn't realize this, and I don't know if you knew this, but before Shindig, when you used to look at a rock and roll show on TV, they would lip sync. Now, you mentioned Ed Sullivan. Only if you had a hit record would you be on the Ed Sullivan show.
Yeah.
Shindig was the first TV show that used live musicians backing the artist, and that was the success of Shindig. And back then, Phil Spector was just beginning the record company back then.
Well, yeah, I think Darlene was probably one of the first.
When he left New York, he came to California to literally cut He's a Rebel.
Oh yeah.
He was chasing, what's his name, the producer, Garrett.
Yeah.
And he had already recorded He's a Rebel with Linda Carter. And then when, with the record company, you have to wait for your turn, this one's record's out this week or whatever. So when Phil came to California, he got the producers from Gold Star, got all those musicians together, and we went into the studio. I had just met him, and I thought he was this funny-looking man running around in a suit with heels on, number one. So
Well, sure, he had heels on.
you remember the Spanish
Of
heels
course.
everybody used to wear?
I think he was 3 feet tall, but heels.
So I went in and I learned the song, He's a Rebel. And like most, we had been doing background session for years by the time we met Phil.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of records that weren't hits. We only can remember the hit records. And I figured He's a Rebel,
But it came out under the title The Crystals.
Yes, because Phil had already had the Crystals as a group.
Right.
So
Uptown.
he figured he wanted them because they already had a name. So it would be easier to put a record out under their name, no matter what they sounded like, and he didn't really care.
But did you do? Were you the lead on Do Run Run or no?
I was, but Phil, with his little slippery self,
Yeah.
took me off of the record
Really?
and had brought Lala
Brooks.
Brooks in, and she re-recorded the song over the Blossoms.
Well, sounds like she copped you and
Hey,
had a hit record.
that's his ear was. The audience is not going to know the difference.
Well, he stole that record, He's a Rebel.
Yeah.
He was working for Liberty Records at that time, and Kathy Carr was set to do the session. And he ran and he got you to do the record. And that was the end. But that was not meant to be. He just
No, it
stole the
wasn't.
record.
He did. He did that quite a few times. I was watching, I love the Dixie Cups. They're friends of mine. Don't you guys love them? Have you seen their show? It is so special. And before they recorded Going to the Chapel, I recorded that song
Really?
for Phil Spector.
You're
He
kidding.
never put it out. I'll give you one better.
You recorded Love and Feeling before we did.
No, I didn't do that But Leslie Gore.
Oh, really?
I recorded It's My Party and I cry if I want. I recorded that before she did. He didn't put them out. And I don't know, people say, what was going on between you and Phil? I said, listen, I don't know, because I sure didn't want it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know, Shindig, did you guys get together because of the show Shindig?
Bill, the Righteous Brothers?
Yeah.
Involved? No, because I don't even think the Righteous Brothers knew they were going to ever do that show. Because
Well,
we had been doing it a couple of months
Yeah.
before you guys actually
Yeah,
came
you
on the
did
show.
the pilot.
Right.
And the first artist was Sam Cooke,
Sam Cooke.
the Everly Brothers, and Billy Preston was one of the house guys.
Yes, he was the
along
piano
with
player.
Glenn Campbell.
well,
Yeah.
and Leon
Glenn-
Russell was on
Leon
piano.
Russell was
right.
on piano, right?
It was a hell of a band. It
Oh,
was a
yeah,
great
it
band.
really was.
You realize the great stars that were doing background, ladies and gentlemen. Sonny Bono was a drummer playing on all the old sessions.
That's it.
You
Well,
know.
he was sort of playing drums.
Yeah. Let's work it down to a tambourine.
Yes.
He played
You know
tambourine.
that? Now, you all have hit records, right? And what happens here now, you're doing all major TV shows. And Phil Spector is very much a part of your life and very much a part of your life. How was it working with this guy they call the Wall of Sound genius?
Well, you know what? It was so much fun in the beginning to work with Phil because just to see him work and see the things that he came up with. Because Jack Nitzsche, who was the arranger for all of the songs, they would get the songs, they would learn them, play them, and then Phil would tear it all apart and redo it all. But he had the groundwork already done by Jack Nitzsche. And mostly everybody in that room that was playing were unbelievable musicians.
Oh, great players.
And plus, Phil let them add all of their stuff to the. Matter of fact, he was the first record producer that left all the mics open. You don't do that in sessions because it bleeds in to the sound. But that's the wall of sound. Therefore, that's why it's so loud and everything that's going on with it because he left them. There's even talking on some of those records.
Really?
Yes.
Run,
Wow.
run, do, run, run, do, run. Well,
Phil did not care. He said, if this song is not sold in the first 8 bars,
Yeah.
it's not going to sell.
That's right.
Yeah. How was your experience? Because let me tell you, you cats really have, when you first heard the Righteous Brothers, you thought they were black.
So did we.
I mean, everybody, you know. I
So
mean,
did we.
the influence was Don and Dewey, right?
Well, yeah, Don and Dewey. I mean, all the guys. I mean, I did a blues album a few years ago, and it was just my favorite Ray Charles song, my favorite Sam Cooke song, you know. And but I was, 15 years old and a little white guy living in Orange County, which was really white. And Bobby was from Anaheim.
Yeah.
And for two white guys to try and sing, well, we were raised on rhythm and blues.
Yeah.
Was it Hunter Hancock?
He was the
came-
disc jockey.
Yeah.
Art LeBeau.
And
Art
we
LeBeau.
would Hunter Hancock was an all black
Yeah.
station, and we would turn it in and
All the way at the other end of the dial.
yeah.
Because I began on WHAT, which was all the way of the other end of the dial. And every disc jockey was black, except the Geeter, the boss with the hot sauce. And they thought that I was black until we once did a picnic. And they said, "Where's the boss with the hot sauce?" I said, "That's me."
Well, color television killed us. We were doing great till they found out we were white.
You know it too. We have to also remember there were only 2 stations, AM and FM.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was the top 20 and the top 40. And black disc jockeys didn't play white music, and white stations didn't play black until somebody like Fats Domino came along, and then here comes Pat Boone.
Yeah,
well,
oh
you know-
I
boy.
found that thrill.
Boy, little Richard. Pat Boone said,
Tutti Frutti. How could you do Tutti Frutti, Pat?
bam, boom.
You know, wait, we talked about this yesterday, if you saw the interview, and you can see it on the All Access. In the early days, the artists that had the original songs were covered by the major artists because they had national distribution. But along comes Dick Clark and plays the original song. And all of a sudden, all these little labels, VJ, Chess, Checker, Cameo, Parkway, Phillies with Phil Spector. How are you going to come up with a cover when kids all across the country are hearing the original song played by Dick Clark on American Bandstand? You see?
Well, the black artists, you couldn't do it better. Those records were so much better than the copies, and they just were. How can Pat Boone, and I love Pat Boone. Is he here tonight?
Wait, he's on the next one.
Oh, okay. But, for Pat Boone to do a Little Richard song should
Ridiculous.
Be against the law. Nothing against Pat. He's a beautiful man. But Little Richard, probably the greatest rock and roll singer ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the only good thing for Richard and cats that were covered is that they wrote the song.
Yeah.
So they got a royalty, which you didn't know. Same thing with Hank Ballard. We love Chubby, but if you listen to Hank Ballard and Chubby Checker, it's almost the same rhythm beat.
Sure.
Except Dick Clark played Chubby Checker. And Sid Nathan, here's something, who owned the record company, called up Dick Clark. And he said, hey, man, why didn't you play my version of Hank Ballard? And he said, well, the kids in Philly are doing a dance called the twist. They were shaking their beep, beep, beep. So Dick Clark said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Whatever your next song is going to be, I'm going to play it. It was a song called Hey Now, Hey Now, Hey Now, it's finger popping time. Finger popping.
That's right.
Almost made me want to dance.
Now, you are the star of the Wall of Sound. You come in, two white cats that people think are black. Thank God you're discovered. And you have a hit. You Lost That Lovin' Feeling. Tell me about how that came to be.
Well, we were on Moonglow Records, and
a little label.
Yeah, and Bobby and I were doing nothing but our opinion, rhythm and blues and rock and roll, not trying to because us two white guys back in 1963 or two to sound black, like Darlene said. Black stations wouldn't play us because they knew we were white. White stations wouldn't play us because they thought we were black.
Right.
And
but I played you.
And well, God bless you. That's one in a row. But when and Phil Spector called Moonglow Records, said, "I want to produce a Righteous Brother." Why he wanted to produce us? And he called. We said, "Well, okay," but we knew he was doing, Darlene and mainly girl groups, and so I said, "Well, I guess I could fit into a dress." So then he called Barry Mann and Cynthia Wilde and said, "Right, I'm going to produce the Righteous Brothers. Write them a song," and they wrote "You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling," which was so out of where Bobby and I and. When Phil Spector and Barry sang it to us, this is a little musical, but they were probably an F, and Barry.
That's the key.
They yeah, that's the key we sing in. But they really wrote the song. They were copying a Four Top song. I'll be there or something.
Reach out, I'll be there.
Yeah, and so they started singing Love and Feeling to us, and they were way up here. You never close your eyes anymore. And it was kind of, and I couldn't get up. You love that love. I couldn't do it. Still can't do it. And
you could have fooled us.
yeah, well, and so they would lower it. And
Lower the key.
Lower the key, lower the key. And by the time I could hit the note, we were down to say, "You never close your." And it was a whole different song because it was slow now, and I think it just caught the young kids.
Well,
you know,
the strings on that arrangement. I mean, it was Here's another interesting thing. Normally, a record would only be for disc jockeys to play because of commercials. 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
How about 2 minutes? You mean 1 minute?
Right, because
1 minute, 30 seconds.
Right,
That's
because
as long as those first 45s were.
Right.
I mean, I could sing 5 songs and be through in a minute and a half.
Sure.
And the reason was because radio had to get the commercials in. Your song was almost 3 minutes over.
No, it was over 3
I
minutes.
mean, 4 minutes.
We did the background and we said, is this song record going to ever end? They ain't going to play this.
I mean,
is this record an album? What are we?
That's an amazing fact, ladies and gentlemen. You guys
The first 3 minute record was
really,
Love and
honestly,
Feeling.
truly. You know, the shortest record ever made was a song called "Stay" by Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs. 1 minute, 26 seconds.
Wow.
Well, why don't you stay just a little bit longer? And that was it. Minute 26 seconds.
Well, yeah. I mean, when we got done with Love and Feeling, we thought for sure, well, this isn't going to be a hit.
Right.
It's too long. It's too slow. I sound like I'm on the wrong speed. Never close your. And literally, some of the companies thought it was on the wrong speed.
Right.
You never close your eyes. I don't know what they were expecting.
They played from 33 1/3 to a 78.
Yeah.
You see, you would speed
But
it
wait a minute, what about when they taught the song? It was funny. When they taught the song to Bill and Bobby, and Bill was doing so much singing, Bobby said, well, what am I going to do? Because you went on and on and on. And then they actually found the part for him, because the song was, you guys were in octaves.
Yeah, we were.
Bobby was in an octave over him. So when he came in on that, I call it the soprano part. I can't hardly sing that.
Yeah.
And it just made all the difference in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Well, yeah. Bobby asked Phil, he says, Phil, what am I going to do while Bill's singing this song? He says, go to the bank.
That's right.
That's
He really
the truth.
did say that.
That's the truth.
That's the truth.
Well,
So when Bobby recorded Unchained Melody, I went to the bank.
yeah. Wait, now whose idea was to record a song that Al Hibbler had? Al Hibbler had the original version of, and it was from a movie called Unchained.
Well, yeah, Roy Hamilton was.
Roy Hamilton and Al Hibbler,
Yeah.
right? Al had it on Decca. Roy had it on Epic,
Yeah.
which was a subsidiary of Columbia. Now, that song came out in 1953. Whose idea was for you? Because you're the orchestration again.
But then they would see what you guys don't understand. Bill produced that record, not Phil.
Well, ladies and gentlemen.
It's almost like Phil said, okay, well, I'm done loving Feeling. Hey.
Yeah.
And then they needed a follow-up. Did you guys did Soul and Inspiration right after that? Or did
Well, when we left Phil, we went to MGM and I produced Soul and Inspiration.
On Verve.
Right.
On
right.
Verve,
Verve
yeah.
Records.
But of course, it seemed like, whoa, boy, Phil is he's a magic.
Man.
All those hits.
Well, I accidentally produced. I'm not a producer, but I know how to produce. That's all. But I produced the first Little Latin Loopy-Loo, all that early stuff before. So Phil came to me and said, Bill, I'm going to, well, you know, because of the Christmas album. He said, I'm going to take too long and I'm going to spend too much money. So you produce the albums. So Bobby Hatfield, both Bobby and I were huge Al Hibbler and Roy Hamilton fans. And Bobby always sang Unchained Melody when he was in his band. And so when we recorded, we could only do so many duets. There's only so many you can do. We could only rip off so many people. And so Bobby came to me and said, you know, for my solo, I'd like to do Unchained Melody.
You know, one of the unknown songs you guys did was a song called I Need a Girl.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have to listen to that. I mean, the big hits you had. But I always loved the obscure things that you guys did. I mean, do you remember that song, I Need a Girl?
Oh, yeah, I wrote it.
Okay, do a little bit of it.
I need a girl.
Go ahead.
That's all I remember. But
A girl to love. That's it, a girl to love, the girl to be with me. See, this music, and I've said it before, speaks for the human experience. When I heard I Need a Girl, I said, this guy wrote it for me because I need a girl. I ain't got no girl, man.
why do you think I wrote
You know,
it?
when you lost the love and feeling, you say, man, she left. You lost that love and feeling. Darlene's songs had rhythm and blues and soul and gospel, man. You could hear the gospel sound in this young lady. She came from gospel, man, right?
Well, her dad was a preacher.
No, wait a minute. One Sunday I asked Bill, come and go to my church. Come and go to this black church.
I do.
And they can hear you guys sing because they won't believe it. Well, that Sunday, Leon Russell, I talked to him to come to church that Sunday, and you came. And Leon got on the piano. Number one, they couldn't believe that was a white man playing the piano in a black
boy.
church, especially like that. And then Bill sang. It was like, we had church. That's what that is all about, that kind of singing.
Well, I'm sitting there with Darlene at her dad's church.
Well,
And all of a sudden he says, well, let's get Brother Bill up. I said, well, shit, who the hell's Brother Bill? Where's he? I said, this Brother Bill ain't getting up.
but guys,
but I
you
did
know,
get up and sing.
that's what music's about. It brings race, color, creed. Doesn't matter. Black, white, Spanish, pink, don't matter. Music brings people together. And we need more music today like that to bring people together back in America. Listen, when you went out to buy the record, black, blue, pink, well, yeah, you bought the record because you liked the record, man. I was the first, forget what I did. Read the book. Read the book. Your story.
But let me say something about Darlene Love. Darlene Love in '63 was the best singer I ever heard. And now she is still the best singer I've ever heard. She's unbelievable.
At 42 years old.
I'm still 32.
You know, Bill, we were talking about that, and you know the only ones really left, Gladys Knight, Dionne Warwick, you, and we talked a little bit about Mariah Carey.
No, she wasn't with us.
Well, no, I ain't talking about
I know. She was way after us.
Oh,
yeah,
way
that's-
after.
But I'm saying, I know.
No. What I'm saying is that the Supremes, and we kind of put Diana Ross in the group with that, but it's me, Dionne Warwick, Patti LaBelle, and Gladys Knight. That's it.
Well,
And no, it's not nobody else that comes close to. Excuse me. Yeah, we talking about groups. We talking about solo.
Single solo girls.
Solos, because her group is not here anymore. She is, but her group is gone. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is that we're getting closer to losing now everybody that we grew up with.
Absolutely.
I mean, well, we won't even talk about the groups, like the male groups, you know, and when the three of us are together, this is what we talk about. And we're all the same age. I think Gladys is the baby of all of them. She loves to say she's the baby of all of us. But we're all just 1 or 2 years apart. You know what I'm saying? And we're all still working, which is wonderful. That God has done that we are still singing, and we believe in what we're doing. You know, I told my husband, when this becomes a job and a work, that's when I stop. Because I'm never going to retire. But when it becomes a job, that's when y'all got it. Now it's a job, and I ain't going to work.
Well, traveling's starting to make it a job.
Oh, yeah, well, big time.
The traveling is, they pay us to travel. They don't pay us to do the show. You know, it's.
No, once we get there, we'll do the show.
Yeah, if we can get there.
Get there. It is.
But you know the audience would know. You can't fake it. You can't. The audience would know, man. You could be sick, but when you get out there, and when you're doing your thing, man, you're 100%, 100%. And you know the reason I said Mariah because she's got the pipes today, which remind me of what you've got back in the day that you still have today. There's not too many of them. I don't think of any mother. You know.
No.
There's nobody that sings like Darlene. She's probably over 40. She's probably over 40, and she sounds like a kid, and it so pisses me off because. I'm just so proud of her. She's had a remarkable career, and boy, 20 steps, just
20 feet from stardom.
yeah. I'm finally.
Well, you know what, too, but because most people don't know this, is that I loved singing background. It was just joy to work for all the people, all the people that I work for. And Bill, one day he said, you know what, are you going to be a background singer for the rest of your life? Or do you really, you keep talking about you want to do a solo show. Let's do a solo show. And Bill put together a band, singers, and I did my first solo show in Orange County.
Wow.
And he's the reason I did that. You put that, you know, I still do that gospel thing in my Oh Happy Day. I'm not doing it here, but I still do that in my
Do you
show.
really?
Oh, yeah. That's why when you, sorry, we're having this little conversation. But when you did your gospel thing last night, I said, well, yeah, he still got it. He
well.
gonna put that gospel in there somewhere.
No, and the interesting thing is, I was raised Presbyterian, and Presbyterian's pretty quiet. You
don't hear no amens there.
No amen. And I will never. And it was life changing for me when her father called me up to sing, get Brother Bill up. I went up and started singing, and it was the most remarkable feeling in the world because I wasn't singing to an audience. They weren't watching me. They were praising God. I was praising God. Well, I was too scared to praise anybody, but I was just trying to get through it. But it was the most interesting thing to not say, boy, look at me do this. I mean, everybody was looking up.
Yes.
And the audience,
Yes.
it was just amazing. And it was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
Guys, when you left Phil, and you recorded, and then you recorded on Verve, why did you leave Phil and record on Verve?
Why not? Why not? No,
Oh, wait, did you get paid?
Well, the truth is, and Darla, you know, Phil was Phil,
he got
and he really kind of. I'll tell you the truth, and I've never said this publicly. That the minute Love and Feeling was number one, Phil asked me to leave the Righteous Brothers.
Whoa.
And
I believe it.
and
What a
and-
snake.
Well, he didn't like the fact that it became a Righteous Brother record and not a Phil Spector production.
That's the big story.
And that was the reason. And so then when Unchained Melody accidentally
On Verve.
became, well, you could kind of feel and hear us ripping apart.
Yeah.
But he just had real strange. I mean, with the Blossoms being on Shindig and Shindig being so big, and for him to have the Blossoms signed and not recording them was just stupid.
You know,
What we know that a lot of people don't know, he not just wanted to control us, he wanted to possess us.
Yeah.
And he wanted his name along with ours. He didn't want to share the glory with anybody else. Matter of fact, he didn't even write half of those songs.
Yeah, no.
But he produced them. But he didn't, very rarely did he talk about Barry and Cynthia or all those wonderful people, Ellie Greenwich that wrote these songs. It was about Phil Spector. And Phil Spector, until the day he died, followed me. And everybody thought, well, y'all had to have something going on. It must be something.
when
But
did you put your foot down with Phil and say, hey, man, I ain't the Crystals?
I didn't even have to say that in my contract, unfortunately. Back in those days, you signed 7-year contracts. and they were paying us a penny a record. So number one, by the time they gave us our royalties, it was zero because
They took everything out.
that had we done in the recording studios, going to the disc jockeys, making the records, all came off the top. So we never got royalties. The biggest reason why people make money today because they're producing their own records. They are writing their own records, and nobody is over their heads hammering them. That's the greatest thing that happened to the rap singers.
Yeah.
They couldn't produce those records, and they were crazy. But all I'm saying is that because Phil's name wasn't on all those records, that's when he got, loopy. He really did, because I left him and went to Philadelphia, Gamble and Huff, when my contract was over with Phil. And what I didn't know when we signed with Gamble and Huff, that Phil's lawyer and their lawyer was the same lawyer.
Oh.
And by then it's like, okay, I'm gonna dot every I, I'm gonna cross every T, I'm gonna know everything I'm doing because Phil will come back and bite you, right?
Absolutely.
And we call ourselves doing that, but there's a clause in most contracts that said the producer has a right to sell your contract if he wants to. But they wouldn't get ready to sign my contract back over to Phil I just got with him, right?
Yeah.
But they did, and signed me back over to Phil Spector. So I was stuck again for another couple of years. That's when I put my foot down. At that point, I did not care to be in show business. Y'all got this. If this is the way we're treated, I'll go back to church. I'll just sing totally for the Lord because he ain't going to do me in. He's going to give me rewards. So what happened, he had this song called Lord, If You're a Woman. I don't even know if people even heard that record, but I did not like the record, number one. And Phil, who was in, what made me so angry is Cher was in the recording booth. She was Cher by then, right? A couple of the Beatles was in the dressing room. They were all in the back, listening in the control room, watching Phil just try me to make me act a fool. And he kept on. I never had a trouble recording for Phil because when I had a song that he gave me, I would learn the song. I would really learn it. And by the time I got to the studio, I knew what I was going to do and I knew what he was going to do. And I never had trouble with him in the studio. But this particular day, I didn't do it the way he wanted me to. I don't like it, do it again. When we went on like that for a couple of hours. You're not singing it right. I don't like it. And then he would turn the button off, the control button, and you could see all the people in the studio talking about it, and he's laughing and calling on. So I took it for 2 hours. I took my headphones off my ears, put them in the chair, put on my coat, and I never saw Phil again.
Wow.
Today's the boy I'm going to marry.
Well, that's remarkable because that's exactly when we were doing Love and Feeling.
Right.
He wouldn't let any of the producers watch him do, the tracks and stuff. But when it came time to put the voices on, that was his party. And in the control booth, Bobby and I are out there trying to sing our brains out, and they're laughing. They're having a party inside, and literally the same thing happened. Bobby, who had bigger huevos than I did, said, Phil, come out here. And two of the Rolling Stones were, it was packed in there. And Bobby said, this isn't working. We'll be back tomorrow. Make sure nobody's here but you and Larry.
Right.
And that's how we did it. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But
Now,
tell
see,
me,
I'd be knowing either one of us that happened.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But that's him.
That's
just
absolutely
like he
him.
is.
Well, that was his time to party. That was his time to shine. But it doesn't work for singers when you're up here singing your brains out and y'all are sitting out there laughing. Kind of takes the soul out of it.
It does, yeah.
It hurts. It hurts.
Dart, today I met the boy I'm going to marry. Darlene Love. Just you. How'd that happen?
That was during the time it seemed like we were with Phil for a long time, but we were there only like 3 years. It just seemed, it was so much going on there because we lived in the studio almost 24 hours. We were always cutting. And when we recorded, we didn't even know whose name was going to be on the record, whether it was going to be the Crystals, Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans, or the Blossoms, or whoever. But this was a particular song that I found out many years later that Ellie Greenwich and Jeff Berry said, this is going to be Darlene's song. And they
That was
just
the
kind of like
signature song.
they put their foot down and just said, this is going to be our song. We don't want this coming out and got somebody else's name on it. Because they wrote, I'm trying to figure what song did feel right.
The Brill Building, you had the greatest writers, and Phil originally was connected with Donnie Kirshner with the Brill Building, if you're going back with Nevins and Kirshner. Bobby Darin was connected. Tony Orlando was connected. Carole King was connected. Neil Sedaka was connected. They had the greatest writers. Donnie Kirshner's publishing company, Brill Building, had the greatest writers who wrote the most magnificent songs for our artists back in the day. You know, so many people really didn't get the credit because of Phil. I mean, but you all remember Ronnie Spector. Ronnie was on the ship, and the Ronettes would be my baby and all of that stuff. He wound up marrying, as you know, Ronnie. His name was Ronnie Bennett, with Adele and the sister and the cousin. And he would not let her, when he married her, that was the end of her career.
That's right. He didn't want her to sing anymore.
Didn't want her to sing anymore. And she spoke about that. You know, there have been so many great artists on this cruise that are not here any longer. And I have to commend everyone, and I think you guys will agree. The people that put this together make you, we're all family. Do you agree on that, ladies and gentlemen? Where else could you go and be with the stars, apart, mingle with them, find out the wonderful stories that you will never hear ever, unless you sit down like we're doing right now, you know.
Or you come to my house. Or Darlene's house, whatever.
Well, you know.
We were, I always say I'm blessed to be able to do what I'm doing today. And I love everybody. I've gotten to the part where I can't hate, because hate is a really waste of time. And it really tears you down more than it tears the other person. Because the other person probably don't even know you're mad at them. And they going on their way. But the songs that I did do, they had to be a blessing from God, because those are the ones today that last. Phil is rolling in his grave today because of Christmas Baby, Please Come Home.
Whoa.
Oh, boy.
Wait, you have a new album. You have a new album, right? And yeah?
That Stevie did?
Yeah.
Yeah, but now, it said it's new, but we did that album over 5 years ago.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. But that's what I am so happy about, the songs that Phil tried to do me in with Today I Met the Boy I'm Gonna Marry. I make more money off of singing that one song
Today I bet.
for weddings today.
Oh, yeah,
Mostly
yeah.
that's what I did for during the pandemic. I did weddings, and I used to tell the people, I said, well, for me to sing one song, it takes my band and me to get ready to do that one song. So are you sure you don't want me to do at least another one? Oh, no. That's the only song we want you to sing. That's what I did almost the 2 years during the pandemic.
Well, listen, you're doing it good. I'm getting, as they say in show business, a wrap-up over here. The only thing I can say is, without these wonderful performers, especially Bill and our girl Darlene, what would our lives have been, really? The music speaks for where we've been. And I thank you, and I'm sure they say the same thing, for making them and making them happy, for them to perform for you. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
See you Thursday night.
Love you and thank you, and enjoy the rest of the cruise.
I'm Little Anthony from Little Anthony and the Imperials. Join me on the Malt Shop Memories Cruise.
The Malt Shop Memories Cruise is heading back out to sea in 2023. This is going to be one party you won't want to miss. You'll see live performances by rock and roll's biggest stars, including The Temptations, Little Anthony, Jay and the Americans, The Letterman, Al Jardine, founding member of the Beach Boys and his Endless Summer Band, the Bronx Wanderers, Peter Asher, the Vogues, the Skyliners, the Contours, the Elegants, the Reflections, Linda Gale Lewis, sister of Jerry Lee Lewis, Bobby Wilson, Winter Dance Party, the Everly Set, celebrating the Everly Brothers, of course our main man, MC extraordinaire Jerry Blavat, and many more surprises to be added. We're sailing back to the best era in music, October 28th to November 4th, 2023, on Holland America Line's New Amsterdam, leaving Fort Lauderdale and making ports of call in Aruba and Curacao. Pack your favorite poodle skirts and Letterman jackets and get ready to relive your favorite memories while creating unforgettable new ones. All the live music, the dancing, the Q&As and interviews, and all the fun you're experiencing this week will be back next year for 2023's greatest rock and roll party at sea. Don't forget, as a valued 2022 guest, you're eligible for the lowest cabin pricing for next year's cruise, but it's only available when you book on board during this trip, so don't wait. Our friendly sales staff members are located in the Hudson Room on Deck 3 this week and are happy to assist you with your 2023 reservation. The Malt Shop Memories Cruise just keeps getting better and better, so be sure to join us in 2023.
Don't miss the boat.